Pre-algebra lesson 108, fractional percents. So we're going to be dealing with percents that have fractions in them, kind of like 4 1/2 or 3/20ths, and we're going to learn how to convert those into decimals and how to use them in some word problems. So the way that we're going to use them in word problems is by using decimal times of equals is, right? But we can't use decimal times of equals is until we know how to convert some fractional percents to decimals. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of practice with that right now. We'll start with 9 1/4%. So 9 1/4%. The way we're going to do this is we're first going to turn it into a decimal percentage number, and then we'll convert that decimal percent into a full-on percentage. So the way I'm going to make this a decimal percentage is I'm going to take this fraction 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and divide it. 4 goes into 1.00, so that's 0.25. So this percent gets rewritten as 9.25%. Now that's still in a percent form. It's not a true decimal number. So the way I'm going to turn it into a true decimal number is I'm going to move that decimal point to the left 2 spaces, because remember, percent means out of 100. So as a true decimal number, it's going to be 0.0925. Right? So now I've turned that percent into a decimal. Right? So that's all we're doing on these first two examples. I'm just showing how to turn the percent into a decimal. So first we're going to use our fraction rule. So over here we don't even have 1%. We just have 4/15ths of a percent. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same steps. I'm going to write this as a division problem. I'll have 4.00 divided by 15. 15 does not go into 4, so I put 0. 15 does go into 40 though. It goes in 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. And I get 30. Subtract, and I've got 100. 15 goes into 100 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9, 90. Alright, and now I've got 10. If I add another 0, I'm going to end up with 100 again. So this becomes a repeating decimal. Or what I can see is that this 6 is going to repeat. So that's another way that this percent could turn into a repeating decimal. But the other thing we have to remember is I just turned this into a decimal percent. I haven't turned it into a full decimal yet. So I still need to do that final step of move the decimal to the left 2 spaces. Okay, so don't forget that step. So the final answer here is actually going to become 0.0026 with a line over it. Remember, the line only goes over the 6 because that is the only number that repeats. Okay, so now we've got some ideas of how to convert these fractional percents into decimals. Now let's use it in a word problem. Remember, we're going to have to use decimal times of equals is. So if we have a fractional percent in a word problem, first I'm going to turn that fractional percent into a decimal. Once I have it as a decimal, I'll go ahead and use decimal times of equals is. Well, let's start by looking at this 15 1/2%. Let's turn that into a decimal. So first I'll take the 1/2. Some of you may already know that 1/2 is just going to be 0.5. Whoops, I put the wrong number in the wrong spot. Right, some of you already know that this is just going to be 0.5, but in case we didn't, we'll go ahead and multiply. And we end up with 15.5%. And then to finish turning it into a decimal, I'm going to go ahead and move this 2 spaces. So now I have 0.155. That is my decimal number. That is the decimal in this. So now I have to take the decimal number, multiply it by the of number to find the is. So I can see the of number right here is 9,000. And my is number is my x, right? So I'm going to multiply 0.155 times 9,000. We'll go ahead and put 9,000 on the bottom. I'll drop these zeros over to the edge so I can just add them right there. And then 9 times 5 is 45. Carry the 4. 45 plus 4 is 49. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 4 is 13. So I have 1395000, and then I have to account for these 3 decimal places, so 1, 2, 3. So my final answer is 1,395, and that is 15.5% of 9,000. Okay, so that's all there is for this lesson. It's some pretty simple steps. This fraction stuff can get a little confusing sometimes, especially if you're having trouble with the place values. But just remember, whatever decimal answer you get from the fraction, you just tack that on behind the whole number. If there is no whole number, it just goes on to the end. And then repeating decimals, you treat them as usual. You put a line over the repetition. Yep, that's it. If you guys have any questions, let me know on the school website, and I will see you in class.